Mabuhay!
Hi! Welcome to
The Babaylan Bruja Book Club podcast.
It's Your Village Kapwatids, Steph.
And Amy. Here we are together again, and as always, in efforts to decolonize our minds, bodies, and reconnect with spirit by ways of relation via conversation, of education, interpretation, and integration.
So, this is our invitation for you to join us on our journeys as we discuss the works of honored artists, authors, and thought leaders across the Filipinx diaspora.
Quick disclaimer, we want to acknowledge that in this moment, everyone is exactly where they need to be.
And since we are not experts, yet we are sharing our own unique lived experiences, we invite you to take or toss any statements, any opinions, any words we may use as you choose.
And we are so glad you found your way here. Okay. As we begin our conversation today, we'd like to invite you to take a moment to ground. If it is safe for you, we invite you to close your eyes. And if not, at least just focus on your breath. Take deep inhales in and exhales out on your own pace. Letting go of your whole day. Be sure to drop your jaw. Make sure you're not scrunching your shoulders up to your ears. And just for this moment, come fully into this space. Come fully into your body and feel at peace. As we begin our conversation today, we'd like to thank God, Bathala, Creator, for another beautiful gathering. In gratitude, we acknowledge our benevolent ancestors and invite them into the conversation today. We give much respect and honor to the ancestors of the lands that I and Stephanie reside on, knowing we cannot do our own remembrance work without remembering them. For me, that is the mound builders that are the Hopewell and Adena people in Ohio. For Stephanie, that is the Bay, Miwok, Yokut people in the Inland Bay area of California. We also acknowledge and invite in our guides and source and our higher selves to be with us to support and guide our conversation. We pray that they may support and guide you too. And with gratitude, we also acknowledge your presence, energy, and light, no matter wherever and whenever you are tuning in. Hi, Sissy.
Hi, Sissy.
How are you?
I'm well. Thank you. How are you?
Good. Good to see you again. Here we are. Another Babaylan Bruja time together.
Yes. Brew time.
Brew time. So as always, let's start with the decolonization heart check.
Heart check. You can go first?
Sure. Time me. Time me.
Time you. Okay.
Just go ahead and time me.
And I have to remember. I gotta do 1 minute and 30 seconds because Apple doesn't do 90 seconds. Do they? Yeah, no, they don't. We've already been through this. All right.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, so my decolonization heart check is around coming back to the earth and like remembering Mother Earth and sitting with her. I've been doing some intentional sitting with her, and then also in my backyard. Usually I don't do that, right? Because I just go to a metro park where it's more beautiful. And Mother Earth told me, she was like, you know, every part of me is beautiful, not just the parts that you think are beautiful, just like our own bodies, right? So and she's been talking to me about like really slowing down, integrating, realizing things take patience and time to create and integrate. And so, you know, I don't know what our indigenous practices were specifically with the earth. However, I know that a lot of indigenous practices do, point back to the earth and point back to taking care of the planet and revering Mother Gaia, So that's where I'm sitting at the moment in my backyard in the burbs, just
In the bird.
like just being a whole ass brew brew, hand on my heart, hand on the ground, like meditating. My neighbors are probably like, "What the, what the hell?" But that's where I am.
That's where you are.
Did I make time?
You did.
Right.
You did. Thank you for sharing that. That's really important. Connecting back to earth. I feel like maybe that'll bleed into what I was going to share.
Okay.
I actually didn't have one, but I'll go off that.
Okay. Ready and go.
So going off of or bleeding into the earth, I'll speak of that. I've been much more deepening my practice of returning my blood back to the earth. So I'm working on my carbon footprint this year.
Ooh,
there was a
yes.
download I received. Microdosing. Mama Guy was like, okay, you love me, so stop. What do you do? Like, let's see what you're doing to not cause so much carbon freaking footprint.
Yeah.
Like emissions, waste in the air. So I've been using Thinx underwear. I'm lucky enough to be working from home. So I'm comfortable using them at home. And so I collect my blood and I do a whole brew ritual too. I every day during my moon cycle, when I collect the blood, I go outside and I have palm sisters in the backyard, and each of them, I usually per day, I like drop it and we have conversation and I talk to earth, and it's a beautiful remembrance for me to remember, like to feel connected to her, as well as recognizing, like, I apologize too for the years that I kept using paper sanitation for my cycle. So anyways, that's how I've been decolonizing my moon cycle.
Nice. And time. That was juicy. That was a whole conversation that we could have.
I know we could.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be a study break. We'll see.
Yeah.
We could do it on a full moon or something.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say we could do a study break with Mother Earth.
Wow. Oh, well, when you're here.
I know I'm gonna be there soon.
I know. You can meet my palm sisters. Yes. I have 3 of them in the backyard. Oh, one of them, I knew she was a female. I knew it. The main one in the center.
Yeah, the main one in the center would be female.
Duh, get with the program. Female's always the center. Anyways. Yep. So
awesome. Okay, are you complete?
I am complete.
Okay.
For now.
Okay, so let's go into Brown Girl Cliff Notes. So this was chapter 7 from part 2 of Back from the Crocodile's Belly by Maria J. Ferrara. Glimpses into the indigenous cultural portals and ethnic identity development among second-generation Filipino Americans. There was a lot of footnotes. There was a lot of citations in here. I loved it. Not only was it like emotional somehow, but it was also very academic, right?
Yeah, very.
Both and.
Beautiful frameworks.
Yes. So in this chapter, Maria J. Ferrara seeks to give us an answer to what is probably the most common question of those of us in the Filipinx diaspora, and why we're having this conversation and why you're here, you showed up. And that is, what does it mean to be Filipino, Filipinx, Filipina, right? So she discusses why we need to be conscious of challenges among second generation Filipino Americans, or SGFAs, and how scholars have conceptualized colonial mentality and ethnic identity development, which is great. that they have words, like scholarly words for that, right? She then goes into the results of her research on ethnic identity development among second generation Filipino Americans. Maria, apologies, utilizes an indigenous perspective in understanding the experiences of SGFAs and how decolonization education and perspectives, which is what we're doing here, seem to be particularly warranted within this group. She describes ethnic identity development concepts and models, which we will go into detail later. And through her academic research, what she learned was that despite a long history of colonization, like 400, she said it was like 400 years if it's like Spanish and American, right?
Yeah.
Second generation Filipino Americans long to understand what it means to be Filipino, because along with the erasure and colonization of our indigenous history, as well as forced enculturation, second generation Filipino Americans now live in the country of their past colonizer. So, with that complication in mind, SGFAs have sought to access their indigenous identity through a concept that emerged from the findings of Maria's study called cultural portals, which we will also define more in depth in a bit. So, boiled down, the whole chapter describes the nuanced and complicated history, or lack thereof, for second generation Filipino Americans and the psychological effect it can have on them, on us. I'm like saying them like it's not me.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful. That was a great summary, Sissy.
thank you.
It was rich. With
It was. It was.
Silo, what did they say? The Filipino term, Filipino psychology. Silo Kohang.
Yes, Silo Kohanan, I think it was.
We are totally botching it right now, or I am.
Probably I am as well. So there's that.
Wait.
Okay.
Yeah, it is deep. It is deep, and I really, and I was like, I'm a first and second generation because my parents, one of them grew up here, one was born in the Philippines. So I have,
oh wow.
I was like reflecting, and I was like, how is this maybe this is why it's so complex for me. Because one was born here and one was not. So
yeah.
Anywho,
it's very nuanced and complex. So that is Brown Girl Cliff Notes. If you have anything else to add, Sissy?
No, I think it was a beautiful summary. A+.
Yay! I passed.
With flying colors, you would be approved in an Asian household.
All right.
So now we're going to move into vocabulary words.
Yes.
And I guess I'll piggyback off Sissy's wonderful summary. It's cultural portals. You're probably like, what's that after her summary? So it's on page 1.
Portal.
I love a portal. I got a portal.
Right?
You got a portal, sis.
I love a good portal.
All women have portals. I don't know why I wrote one page 172.
I have 169, but
169. Oh, you right, Sissy. She's a better scholar than me today, y'all.
No, I just read it right before we recorded. That's
well, it's been a day. Okay. It's been a day for you, girl stuff. So anyways, cultural portals. Thank you, sis. 169. It's a concept that has emerged from the findings of this study, is used here to refer to points of access that provide exposure to and an understanding of Filipino history and culture. So the experience of cultural portals that may include, but are not limited to, immersion trips to the Philippines, active learning of Filipino language and history, engaging in Filipino organizations, exposure to Filipino cultural events, etc. So these are meant to be transformative, and the highlights of these experiences were basically the reason why she discussed and conducted this survey.
Yes.
So, and it pops up a lot in the chapter. So it'll be a good vocab to remember.
Yeah. And I love that. Like just the phrase cultural portal, like, because I mean, the whole concept of portal is it transports you, right?
Yes.
So another cultural portal is Kali.
Ah,
Yeah.
it sure is. It sure is. Sure is.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm all knocking my sticks over. I can't wait to show you my little collies, sissy.
Yay.
I'm gonna have a personal instructor here in a few weeks. I'm so excited.
I'm gonna teach you some
Yeah.
ones.
What cultural portals? What else, sis, do you do as a cultural portal?
Oh, I love that question because I was gonna ask you.
Ah,
I feel like so
great minds.
the dances, the Filipino traditional dances is definitely a cultural portal. That is one that Rob walked
Wait,
through.
you danced?
I did, yeah, like a little bit, like the tinikling and stuff like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Always a 3 count.
Yes.
3 count.
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Yeah,
Anyway. So dancing, Kali.
Okay.
I feel like food. I feel like food is
hell
easy,
yeah, all the time. Yep.
Yes,
My
that's like
favorite portal.
that's like the number one portal, right? And then we were part of Filipino organizations for a little bit.
Okay.
But not so much anymore. But yeah, so that's the ones I can think of that are current in our lives, in my life. How about you, Sissy?
Yeah. I too did dancing growing up. And my favorite was Sinkil. I was like blessed to learn the fan dance. It was fun. Yeah, I had is cotillion that's a colonized portal, but we did nickling then.
We did our thing. We put our stamp on it.
I feel like the church was a portal. It's not necessarily the best portal that I would have picked, but my parents picked that as a portal to bring them to the culture. And that's where I was basically raised. I joined and did, Filipino club in high school and college. That brought me closer to it too. We actually, fun fact, in Merced, shout out to Bobcats. We established the first Filipino, it was like what do you call those courses? God, I haven't been in school for a long time. Like the
classes, extracurriculars.
Yes, it was like a 2-unit class you could take, and we got our the first Filipino Pinay professor, and she's actually been published. Shout out to Professor Jen Manilai. She's been it's been a pleasure to know her. But she oversaw the establishment of that. So PAA, shout out to my PAA people if you ever listen to this. Filipino American Alliance Club in UC Merced. We've been around since 2005, and so that was established by our organization.
There. That's cool. Yeah, that's really cool. You created a portal. What, sis?
This part of it.
Wait, hold on. This is a portal right here.
This podcast is a portal. Okay.
Portal. Podcast portal. Podcast portal time.
Podcast portal time. Say that 3 times fast.
Podcast portal time. Podcast portal time. Podcast portal time.
Yes. So that's my portal. If you're listening, what's your portal?
Yeah.
I went to the Philippines. That was before the pandemic, literally February 2020.
Oh snap! Literally, right before. Oh my gosh, you could have got stuck.
I know. It would have been. My dad got stuck in the Philippines. He went a month after me, and they just literally were on lockdown. He was like, "I'm so bored. I can't even leave this province or whatever."
Yeah, my parents were stuck in Bohol.
Ooh, yeah. That sounds like a very exotic place to get stuck, though.
Yeah, they had just built a house, so I mean, yeah.
Hey,
if you're gonna get stuck, at least you have your own house.
Yeah,
but they're privileged that way. So portals. Is your portal complete?
Is my portal's complete?
Okay, wonderful. Thank you
Your
for that,
word.
sis. So,
Yeah.
my words was on 165, 166.
Ooh.
And it was about what we talked about earlier with the minority identity development.
Mhm.
Ethnic identity development concepts and models. So, um, Atkinson, Morton, and Sue developed a 5-stage minority identity development model. So the stage models seek to codify the process through which individual minority youth try to understand themselves, their minority culture, and the relationship between the minority and dominant cultures. Okay, so there's like 5 stages. And it has the first stage as conformity, right? So we all understand what conformity is. We're assimilating, we want to be part of the dominant culture. The second stage is dissonance, where you're like, oh, but I'm not part of the dominant culture at the end of the day because they don't treat me like I'm part of the
I'm
dominant
still
culture.
brown. Yeah.
We're still brown. We're still people of color. So there's like a cognitive dissonance, right? So that's the second stage. The third stage is resistance and immersion, when the minority youth embraces his or minority culture and rejects that of the dominant group. The fourth stage is introspection and represents the process through which the minority youth begin to form a real sense of their identity and recognize the negative and positive aspects of both the minority and dominant cultures that they are, interwoven through. And then the fifth and last stage is known as the synergistic articulation and awareness stage, which basically represents a period in which the minority youth, they did the study on minority youth, but I mean, obviously it's for the minority. This is a common, I feel like I'm not a youth, but I resonate with this. So which
Yeah, as an adult, I'm just
right,
saying, like, I'm kind of in these stages right
yeah,
now.
yeah. So represents a period in which the minority youth would have attained some sense of self-worth and individuality. So they've gone through like their crisis and they've still trying to figure out who they are, and they kind of land somewhere, right? So that's the 5 stages by Atkinson, Morton, and Sue. But Nadal, someone named Nadal, poses a nonlinear 6-stage ethnic identity development model that is specific to Filipino Americans because we are not a monolith, right? So there's so many different kinds of Asian people and there's so many different kinds of Filipino people, right? So he adds, I don't know if it's a he or she, they, Nadal, along with those 5 stages that I mentioned earlier, has a 6th stage, which is the incorporation stage. At this stage, the first or second generation Filipino American has come to an understanding and acceptance of both the positive and negative aspects of his or her Filipino identity in relation to Asian Americans, in relation to American, Asian American, and other ethnic minority cultures. So it sounds like this is specifically just for Filipinx folks who are in this process, and it just kind of sets them apart from other indigenous cultures who are kind of going through the same 5 stages, right? Because our experience is a little different, like and we talked about in Brown Girl Cliff Notes that we live in the land of our colonizer. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, yeah, like 7,000 islands, so many thousand dialects, like it makes sense. And Filipinos are notorious for always creating more.
Oh yeah.
Adding on,
so much, which is beautiful.
Yes, but I think this is a beautiful way of creating a map for folks who feel like, what is going on? Like, I'm lost, or kind of feeling like this it's putting into words. Like
Yeah, it
they
gives language and makes you feel less
yeah.
alone and less like crazy, like what is happening.
Yeah. I'm like, it put into words where I'm at. I'm like, am I
Hmm.
in that phase? Sometimes I dibble dabble or go back and forth between two,
Yeah, I don't think
depending
it's
on the topic.
I don't think it's linear. I feel like
Right.
you can do that a lot
Right.
depending on the topic, like you said. So, I was telling Rob the other day, I was like, the more that I kind of decolonize, I mean, I've heard this concept before, but even the word Philippines
Is
is a
King
colonized,
Philip.
yeah. And it's
Yeah.
a colonized concept because we weren't a monolith. Before we were Filipinos, we were Bisayan, we were Cebuano, we were Igorot,
Yeah.
we were Ifugao.
Yeah.
We
So
weren't
even the
Filipino.
word Filipino is colonized.
Yeah.
So what am I?
Help.
Mathala, tell me.
I'm on stage 4. The dissonance. The second stage, dissonance.
Filipino anymore. I'm not a King Philippine. What am I?
Well, I was like, I guess I'm Bisayan. Like I'm not Filipino, technically.
Oh, okay. Is that where your family's from?
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, they're deep in the Bisayas.
Okay. So I was sitting with a reader the other day and she was like, and it's the new Aries moon coming up
Oh,
tomorrow.
did you go to the reader?
I did.
Okay,
And I was in fire mode and she's like, are you a Visayan? And I was like, I actually have Visayan in my Lolo side.
Yeah.
And she's like, they're warriors.
Yeah.
They fight. They have that fight in them. And you're having all this fire coming. I was like, I have 6 placements of fire in my birth chart. So and then there's Aries moon and my moon coming in. I'm like, oh my God, all this fire. Like,
burn it down.
I know, burn it all down. Like, fuck the call. I swear.
Hell yeah.
I'm so tired of it. She's like, you're the shaman. I know, like, they're like, women be shaman and stuff, Babaylan, but she's like, you were on the battlefield. She's like, you were probably like strategically throwing. I was like, I don't know if I was like out there with Kali 6. That would be sis. I thought of you. I was like, she's frontline. I even thought of my partner because he's so good at that too. I was like, I probably helped like think about where the booby traps were, like the bombs, and I did that part.
Yeah.
I think I did that part.
You still got to be a warrior for all that, though. If you're going to be on the battlefield, you got to know how to fight. You got to have the fight in you. So either way, no matter what your role was.
And sis, I've been having a lot of ancestral rage come up. I was like, man, I'm glad I'm going to ceremony this weekend. I'm just going to purge it, but it comes up. It's so nonlinear. So if y'all are out there and just like listening, like, please know, like, the ancestral rage for me, it's non-linear. Like some days it'll just pop up and I'll just be pissed and I'll see. And I'm not perpetuating any behavior, but when I see white men, like sometimes, no disrespect to anybody who has like a white daddy or uncle or grandpa or something, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes I'm just like, okay, don't be the energy you're trying to not like right now, but I want to honor, like, there's just a part of me that like is just like, man, like I like how many years ago, like I wouldn't even be allowed to be next to you,
right,
Tom? Like, and how do you feel now, like that I'm next to you? So either way, like, again, no disrespect to anybody who's like mestiza and stuff.
Yes, because you're still Filipina. But
I'm not Filipino. What am I? Like,
I don't know. You're still Visayan, whatever you are. Yes, sissy.
Well, I'm a human. I'm a being.
There you go.
But yeah, the ancestral rage, like, honor it. It's just
It's stages. It's non-linear. It's just like healing. Healing isn't linear, right? It's not a straight line up. It's up and down, up and down, up and down. So it's the same thing with decolonization process. So if you are out there and you're a little bit discouraged, or just know that you're not alone in that, and you're not alone in your rage and your grief. For me, grief comes up a lot, but I'm water sign, so that I would just have water about it. So, my best friend here, she's also in the process of decolonizing, but she happens to be white, and her roots are Celtic. And so there's so much, like, I'm so happy for her, like, seriously, like, so happy. She's like, the druid shamanic Celtic ways really mirror ours, honestly. And so, but like, I'm like in the back of my mind, I'm like, God damn, y'all have so much history. You have access to your history. I don't tell her that because I don't want to make her feel bad about her journey, but you know what I mean? I'm like, I gotta dig.
And furthermore, no offense, they're in Hollywood. Like,
right. It's cool to be Celtic.
The medieval shit, like my own father's watching that shit and he's like, what you know about that medieval time? Like, Dad, I'm just glad you're picking up that witches were normalized.
Word.
And they were scared of them because they're powerful woman, you know?
Yes.
But I don't know anything. I don't know. I'm not trying to speak in Celtic stuff, but like still, yes, access to our history stuff. Like, again, that's part of where the rage comes up again too. Yep. It's like, damn, like we somehow, it's just like hidden, it's not accessible, and then we have to figure it out, and then you go through this emotions, and then you come back up and you're like, you know what, everything is fine. And
the 5 stages of grief.
This is soul contracts.
Right. I chose this.
Tom next to me is just a being. He's innocent. He has probably maybe nothing to do with it, or maybe he does, but I'm gonna be Bathala.
Yeah. Bathala na.
Bathala na.
Bathala na. Okay.
I'm still gonna hold my Kali stick though. But hell yeah. I'm just playing. Okay.
Okay. Are we complete with our vocabulary words?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so we're moving on to quotes after that juicy vocabulary words, those juicy vocabulary words.
Yeah.
So I will go first. My quote, I'm pulling from page 174 from the bottom. And so this is kind of one of the summaries that Maria makes about the study that she did on second generation Filipino Americans. Okay. So many of the SGFAs in this study often are unable to distinguish what is uniquely Filipino from what is mainstream American. They often have a good idea of what it means to be white, quote unquote, or American, quote unquote, but often have at best vague ideas of what being Filipino means outside the culture of families and group orientation. And she goes on to say that, what is a real Filipino? Is it like the natives in the mountains who kind of weren't as touched by colonization? So I just thought that, well, this kind of leads in from our last discussion on in the vocabulary words about like the sacred rage and not having our history, and the sacred grief about that. So I feel this, and it gave words to something that I haven't been able to articulate. But yeah, I can say when I know what I look like assimilated, right? I know what I look like assimilated. I know what is white and what is American. But currently I am I want to call in my decolonized self. What does that look like?
Yeah.
As a Filipina, as Bisayan, what does that look like? What does my decolonize? I don't know. Can I fully decolonize in the country of my most recent colonizer?
Yeah.
So that's like, I don't know. She doesn't answer the question or give any like, where do you go from here? But I often find comfort in the language of it, that I'm not alone in this experience. And this is something that she gathered from talking to a lot of second generation Filipino Americans. So
yeah. Girl, I feel the rage coming up again. It's again the Aries moon and my moon, and it's just like it's some bullshit. Like
It's some colonizer bullshit.
it's some bullshit. It's like, and it's kind of a sick joke that like we in particular, us are in America, and America acquired. As some of y'all know, Spain sold us to America. So we had like an American Filipino American War. It lasted like 2 years. And then what we gave in. So I feel like sometimes I'm just like, I get jealous of other cultures that are very rooted in like, we did this when childbirth happened. We did this during marriage. We did this during, like one of my best friends is Indian. And like her wedding was the most beautiful thing I ever witnessed. And I was like, y'all celebrate 9 days and you have each day like strategic things that you do, like wiping, turmeric on your faces and like coloring each other's, like that's beautiful. And I'm just like, we don't have access to that for many fucking reasons.
Where is our history,
and where is it? And
where is it?
That's sort of the tricky part about being a diaspora or a archipelago, because we just have so many islands, and it's like everything is nuanced somehow, and because the language is nuanced. So but silver lining is like looking at how we can take that trauma and we can transmute it in a way that's beautiful and own it. But the rage of like, and the the low vibrational feel, like they honor them, but I'm just like, dang, like I want to know what we did when we did this and that and XYZ.
Well, specifically, I'd love to know beautiful ceremonies. Like what was it? Right.
So. Yeah. Did we do fun stuff before we got married? Like did and it'd be so curious to see how we smash gender norms. I have a feeling, is this a download, ancestors? Like, because we had Malakas and Maganda. We didn't have male or female partnerships. So imagine how many same gendered or, non-binaries were actually holding ceremony in the Philippines. And we had certain ways to do that, Cool. So if you're listening and you're out there, contact us. Love to spotlight, or like
if you know
there's 7 billion people on the planet.
Somebody knows. Somebody got to have some knowledge.
Somebody knows.
But honestly, the Filipinx diaspora, we're just now remembering. So I'm hoping as generations go on, there will be more. So.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, and maybe if God, Bathala willing, like second or third reincarnation, and I'll be like, we'll come a long way. What we doing now? So, anyways,
I am complete with that.
Okay. Thank you for that quote, Ceci. I believe this chapter, if you're, tuning in, to definitely encourage you to read it, especially if you like psychology and education and you want to learn about frameworks, if you're aspiring health, wellness, therapist, researcher. There's a lot of beautiful frameworks to reference for if you're doing Filipinx research.
Yes.
But I feel like it was just so rich with so many words. I wanted to come to the summary. So it's the last page. It's a great kind of summary. I really don't want to read it all, but should I, sis? I don't know. Should we read it all?
I don't know. What do you feel? Do what you feel.
I feel like it would be a good little way of ending Brown Cliff Notes and podcasting.
Okay. Let's do it.
So 178. The collective psyche of most Filipino American communities is often marked by a history of oppression, as well as vulnerability toward internalizing a sense of inferiority. However, second-generation Filipino American narratives in this study offer evidence that our Kamalayan consciousness continues to evolve and break ground towards new, complex, and hybrid identities. Second generationers arguably display the capacity to challenge colonial mentality in their search for self-actualization and authentication. In a sense, second generation Filipino Americans display a sense of nostalgia for their homeland. It is a nostalgia that involves a longing for culture and familiarity with a heritage that they may not know yet. But they do know with certainty that being Filipino, however amorphous or ambiguous it may be, at this point in their lives, it is a part of themselves they cannot deny. The reconciliation of this longing requires the interrogation and unraveling of oppressive messages and negative racial socialization through enlightened awareness of our community's oppressed history. It can be argued here that cultural portals provide glimpses into our Indigenous inheritance that can incite legitimate longing for a much longer, older history that often acknowledge in the adopted than they often acknowledged in the adopted country. We're almost done, promise. As a community, we continue to be in diaspora as scattered seeds that experience otherness, quote unquote, shame, uprootedness, and disconnection in constant and variant ways. It is this experience of dissonance around clashing values and culture, identity, shame, and the sense of quote unquote not fitting in that compel us to find ways to constructively wrestle with the ongoing dis-ease. By questioning, challenging, and resisting, we form our own unique sources of resilience. We continue to evolve, reinvent ourselves as individuals and as a community. And according to the face of our Kamalayan changes in color and form, we change in color and form. Collectively, the shades of our skin and our identities begin to signify to us differently as no longer markers of objection, but as signs of grace and beauty, hearkening back to a long history of struggle, resilience, and thriving of a once oppressed people. It is a good time to keep writing our stories.
Ooh, yes. I had goosebumps on that last line. So that's what we're doing here. That's why we have this podcast. That's why you, Babaylan Brujas, are tuning in, because there's a story for you to continue to write for the next generation. So thanks for sharing that, Sissy.
You're welcome. Yeah, I felt like I was like, go ahead, Ate Maria. It was beautiful. Very great writing. I feel complete. I don't know if you want to comment on anything on that, Sissy. I know I've talked a lot.
No, I don't think Ate Maria summarized it very well. And I think we should just leave it on that note about just encouragement to continue on and to continue to write the stories, like I said. So
yeah, keep writing. So as we end our conversation and close out this container with gratitude, once again, we bring recognition and honor to our ancestors and the ancestors of the lands we all occupy. Thank you for joining our conversation today. And as always, Amy and I leave you with the blessing. May your decolonizing journey allow you to question, process, connect, and reclaim your authentic Filipino identity. May you own wherever you are across the global diaspora. Remember, you are sacred, scattered seeds of Filipino resilience and existence, that you may allow your own roots to blossom in Mama Earth's soils as you rediscover what it means to you to be Filipino, Filipina, Filipinx. And may your idea of home be expanded and redefined as beyond the boundaries of geography, for you have found a home within yourself and this community. May Kapwa grow in your hearts. And until we meet again, may you know that all is well and will be well. And no matter what happens, you are brave, you are important, and you are loved.